Good morning.
Morning.
It's 9 a.m. and I would like to call to order the meeting of the Transportation Committee of October 23rd, 2025. Before we begin, please note this meeting is recorded. Welcome to my colleagues and everyone joining us in person as well as those listening on the phone. If you would like to provide a comment at today's meeting, and if you have not done so already, please let Thomas in the back of the room or Justine on the call-in line know what items you would like to speak to on today. Madam Secretary, please begin calling the roll.
Thank you. I did a quick count and it looks like we're a committee, not a committee of the whole yet. So we're at 9. If somebody walks in, I'll let you know if we change, but I'll be doing the roll call starting with Director Hernandez.
Here.
Moulton Peters is absent. Parrish is absent. Rabbit is absent. Verdoni.
Present.
Sear is absent. Vice Chair Mastin.
Here.
Chair Hill.
Here.
And President Cox.
Here.
Thank you. You have a quorum, but we also have in the room Directors Devlin, Garbarino, Giudice, and Snyder. And as I said, if we have another one enter, I will let you know we are a committee of the whole.
Okay. Go ahead.
So we're still a committee.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Please follow along by referring to the page numbers located on the bottom right-hand corner of the meeting packet. Madam Secretary, please introduce the first one.
Thank you, Chair. We're going to start with agenda item number 3, which is an informational report regarding the district's advisory committees, and staff is available to answer any questions from directors. Not seeing any questions.
Thank you. That concludes the discussion on this item. Madam Secretary, is there anyone from the public wishing to speak on item number 3?
I have no speakers for this item.
Thank you again. No action is required on item 3. Madam Secretary, please move on to item number 4.
Thank you. Item number 4 is to approve proposed changes to the Golden Gate Transit bus routes and paratransit service as identified in the Marin-Sonoma Coordinated Transit Service Mascots Plan with revisions based on public outreach. Staff will begin on page 23 of your packet, and Director of Planning Ron Downing is here to present the report. Ron, go ahead and begin.
Good morning, Chair Hill, members of the committee. Ron Downing, Director of Planning. Today's report actually is a 21-page staff report with all of the appendices, and I'm going to do my best to distill that down for you for the high-level items here. As we've discussed before in the process of setting a public hearing for the proposed mascots changes, this is some work that's been in progress for about 18 months. It highlights the travel patterns in the North Bay have changed dramatically. Not only did the pandemic upend travel patterns, but there were long-standing changes in people's commute between Sonoma and San Francisco, Sonoma and Marin, that really just brought out into the open. The emergence of rail service in the North Bay also affected those long-standing travel patterns. As I've reported previously, the train is the preferred mode to go between Sonoma and Marin. It's faster, it's cheaper. We don't have enough demand in that corridor to support both parallel bus and rail service. Oftentimes, the Route 101 buses cross the county line with single digits of passengers on board those buses. We need to make efficient use of our transit resources. Toll revenues support the majority of our transit service. Fares are an important contribution. But if we don't have passengers on that bus, there's very few people paying fares. So it requires more bridge toll to run that service. As you know, those tolls are above and beyond what is needed to support the Golden Gate Bridge, which is our primary business. No sales tax goes to our transit service in the North Bay from any of the counties that have a transit sales tax. So it's really important that we have an efficient service that is useful for the public, that is used by the public. Mascots was a collaborative effort among the 6 transit operators in Marin and Sonoma and the community transportation agencies that funded SECTA and TAM and Marin. We also had participation from the Metropolitan Transportation Commission as a regional oversight. We looked at the transit services if it was operated by all one entity and looked at, like I said, current and projected travel patterns. We used travel data from MTC extensively and found that 70% of the travel market to San Francisco originates in San Rafael and south to the bridge. Another 18% is in Novato South, and only 12% is expected to originate in Sonoma County going to San Francisco. This is partially because over the decades, Sonoma has emerged more of a live-work community. We used to carry a lot of commuters out of Sonoma County. At one point, we had 6 different commute routes from all over the county. Today, we have one that we are proposing under Mascots to beef up a bit. We tried a second route in East Petaluma based on a previous route that had been discontinued. That one didn't pan out. So part of the proposal is to make more effective use of our resources through Petaluma. Again, we are focusing on the areas with the highest ridership potential. As I said, there are segments where there are very low numbers of intercounty riders, and in some cases, there aren't any. We look closely at the bus pads between San Rafael and Marin City. There are 4 stops along the freeway there. Sometimes we only picked up 1 intercounty passenger across all of those 4 stops. So the travel is different. The travel is not there. There is duplicative service with Marin Transit along that segment. And as you all know, there's duplicate service along the corridor between Sonoma and Novato with the SMART train. So this proposal today came out of our setting of a public hearing under our major service change policy, which was vetted with our attorneys. The proposed changes are to Golden Gate Transit Route 101, which is our primary route from the North Bay to San Francisco, the Route 130, which serves those freeway bus pads down to Marin City and then goes through Sausalito. Route 132, which is a weekday commute service that starts in San Anselmo, goes to the San Rafael Transit Center, and then down the freeway bus pads into the San Francisco Financial District. Route 172, as I said, we're consolidating some of the service into Sonoma County into that one route. And some changes to our Richmond Bridge service, the Route 580 and 580X. As part of this proposal, we would be discontinuing 3 routes. Route 150, again, a freeway bus pad route that serves Marin City and then stops at Spencer Avenue just before the tunnel here. Route 164, which is the route that we tried in East Petaluma, and some express service on Route 172. The process to solicit public comment follows our long-established processes detailed in today's staff report that culminated in the public hearing. At the end of the day, 45 unique comments were received through all means. 5 comments were in favor of the Mascots proposal. 22 comments were neither in support nor opposed, but contained suggestions other than the specifics at hand. Or they asked questions. We had people calling for a restoration of our bus service along Geary Boulevard, which we discontinued before the pandemic. There wasn't a travel market then for regional Golden Gate service. There isn't now, and that wasn't part of the Mascots proposal anyway. 15 comments were received in opposition to the proposal and were specific to late night transit service gap north of Novato. We would be truncating the Route 101 service in Novato and not continuing into Sonoma County because of duplication with the train. One comment was opposed to that terminal location in Novato for the Route 101. 3 comments were received for the Route 130 not stopping at the Seminary bus pad or the Tiburon Y, or some people weren't happy about the emphasis of service on Route 130 through Sausalito not serving park and ride lots. In parallel with our outreach for the public hearing, a customer survey was conducted under the auspices of MTC for Mascots. 740 completed surveys were obtained, 21 were received in Spanish. There was strong support for the Mascots proposal, and 72% felt that the replacement service for the Route 101 using the train would meet their travel needs. 5% indicated the train in general could meet their needs, but they expressed concerns about how the expanded service that Smart would institute would exactly function for them. 63% of the respondents said that the elimination of routes 130 and 150 at some of the southern Marin bus pad stops would not affect their ability to ride transit. Again, Marin Transit is a replacement service at 2 of those stops, and we have a modification to Route 130 that I'll talk about in a little bit more detail that will address those other concerns. Others expressed concern in the survey about, again, the elimination of those stops and the ability to park and ride during non-commute hours, which is a factor given our current remote work pattern where some people do go into the office for a half day in the afternoon. So the proposal today contains a modification on the Route 130. The original proposal had that service coming from San Francisco, going through Sausalito, terminating in Marin City. The revised proposal would extend that route to Strawberry Village in the southern part of Marin County. There is a much better location behind the shopping center at Strawberry where the buses could lay over. Bus drivers can take a break. They have better access to restrooms. We would serve that location. It's in close proximity to the Tiburon Y stop, addressing those concerns we heard at that stop. And then leaving Strawberry Village, it would serve the Seminary Drive park and ride lots, as well as the Manzanita park and ride lots. And this would be serviced all day long, every 30 minutes. That addresses the concerns we heard about people being able to park and ride in the midday. Again, Route 150 would be discontinued in entirety. Replacement service would be a combination of our Route 130 service, additional commute trips on Route 132, and Marin Transit. Route 580 that serves the Richmond Bridge corridor. Right now, it has a lot of local running through East San Rafael. Doesn't generate many riders at all on that segment. And we're proposing to move that onto the 580 freeway for its entirety between the Richmond Bridge and Bellin Boulevard to speed up travel time, provide the through riders more of an express service. The route's evolved over time. Its primary function is more to be a regional connector between El Cerrito del Norte BART station and the San Rafael Transit Center. So we'd be improving the ride experience for those riders that are making the through trips. Route 101 would be revised to provide a higher frequency service from the San Rafael Transit Center to San Francisco. It would operate nonstop to the toll plaza every 15 minutes during weekday peak hours, every 30 minutes during all other times. That is in contrast to the service that we operate per day is hourly during most of the day with 30-minute peak service. Service on Route 101 to San Francisco would continue to be every 30 minutes during the peak. In Sonoma County, we would discontinue commute routes 164 and the 172X trips. That would be folded into the current Route 172 to provide more frequent service. One of the recommendations in the mascots plan was to have that bus not pick up local passengers within San Francisco. Having one route out of 4 that would not stop and pick up passengers, we felt would be very confusing to those passengers. Why did that bus pass me by? Travel time savings would not be that great. And quite frankly, not only do we need that extra revenue from carrying those San Francisco passengers into the financial district, SFMTA has also requested that we continue to do that service. So affecting Sonoma County, Route 101 would be truncated in Novato at all times. Riders have indicated that the replacement smart service will meet nearly all of their needs. There's been a lot of emphasis on the last 2 trips of the evening going north from San Rafael. There would not be a companion train service. The last train would depart San Rafael about 10:15 p.m. There are 2 additional trips that go through about 11:30 and 12:30. Those carry very, very few riders. We've had a lot of comments about that. Staff actually reviewed the video from those trips for an entire week. There's about 6 passengers crossing the county line in total, and most of the passengers are different every night. There were only 2 people that rode twice during the week that we observed the videos. Again, this is a very inefficient service to operate using bridge toll funds because there's not a lot of people paying fares on it. Infrequent riders, may be able to shift their trips to the service that will be in operation up until that 10:15 train leaving San Rafael. There will still be service coming out of the city at about approximately 9 p.m. that will connect with that train. And perhaps some of those people that we saw twice on the video will also be able to shift their travel to that last connection. We have reached out to our partner agencies in Sonoma and Marin to see if there's a non-transit option that could be made available for those riders that are out there at those early morning hours going north. Again, those trips would be arriving in Santa Rosa at 12:30 and 1:30 in the a.m. There's just not a lot of activity at that hour for people coming from San Francisco going to Sonoma. We request, again, some sort of option, whether it's a shared Uber ride or a van pool or something else that would be better tailored to the small number of people. And bridge tolls would not be used to support that replacement service. Another area where there's been a lot of concern and perhaps confusion is right now the district is obligated to provide complimentary paratransit service to our all-day routes that run 7 days a week up and down the corridor. SMART, as a commuter rail operator, does not have a paratransit obligation. And the Mascots group of general managers discussed this and agreed that some sort of paratransit service should continue for those passengers that presently enjoy that service. And so under an agreement between the agencies, Sonoma residents in the footprint of our current service would still be able to have a one-seat paratransit ride from Sonoma to San Francisco, Sonoma to the East Bay, or Sonoma to Marin. The staff report before you today also includes a major service change analysis. This is required under the policies of the board when more than 25% of the revenue miles are affected on a given route and there is no replacement service. One of the cornerstones of both Title VI and the major service change policy is the availability of alternate service. It does not have to be alternate service provided by the district. It can be alternate service provided by a different transit operator. So the changes to Route 130, 154, 164, 172 meet that threshold, and we have identified that there is alternate service for those riders. The Mascots plan is exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act. It's expected that the majority of current users will continue to use transit, and thus the effect of some choosing to drive would be minimal and not have an adverse effect on the environment. If approved by the board, notice of exemption would be filed with the county clerks in Marin County and the city and county of San Francisco. And just to wrap up the presentation, this proposal is expected to be neutral in terms of service hours. What we are doing is redeploying the service hours that we currently have today and putting them out there again in a more effective manner where they would be generating ridership in areas where there's greater potential. So that concludes my report.
If I may, Mr. Chair, just to reemphasize one point, for paratransit customers, there'll be no change. They'll still call the same phone number. They'll still have the same one-seat ride provided by the same vendor, same vehicle, same operators. The only change is who pays for that. And so the amount of toll dollars that funded will go down. Other agencies will be stepping up. And just to remind you, you have an item later this morning that will spend a lot of toll dollars. So it's a good thing that we will be spending a little bit less on that. But there'll be no change for the customer. There's been a lot of misinformation about that, but there'll be no change for paratransit riders. The only change is behind the scenes who pays for it, how that's worked out. And as Ron said, that has been worked out among all the agencies. Marin and Sonoma will both do it the same way. They'll take money off the top from what's known as STA, State Transit Assistance, to cover that expense. So there's no question with respect to that. And the Sonoma County Transportation Authority already took action on September 8th. So you can go on their website and see that they've already taken the action allocating their share of the money, which is, I believe, 71%. And then 29% is Marin, and Marin County is getting ready to take a similar action at an upcoming meeting of the Transportation Authority of Marin. Thank you.
Thank you, Ron, for your presentation. Are there any questions or comments from the directors? Go ahead, Jim.
So I have a couple of questions. So Ron, thank you so much. A lot of work there. You presented it quite simply and clearly. So do we know where those late night passengers onboarded? The 6 or so?
Looking at the video at the county line, we only know that was who was on the bus after it left Novato going north.
Well, we actually have separate data though from the video about where people get on the bus. So that bus carries a lot of people that get off in Marin County. The vast majority get off in Marin County. So today we have a 10:30 trip, an 11:30 trip, and a 12:30 trip. Today the 12:30 trip stops in Novato. So we're talking about the 10:30 and 11:30 trips. They do pick up some people in Marin that go to Sonoma. They do pick up people in Sonoma that go to other spots within Sonoma, which arguably are not obligations of toll payers.
Okay. So those 6 passengers might have gotten on San Francisco.
No, there's 6 that got on San Francisco. We can confirm that.
Okay.
Between the 2 trips, it's on average about 3 per trip.
And how late is SMART going to be running?
SMART's last train will leave San Rafael about 10:15 p.m., arriving in Santa Rosa about an hour later.
And was any thought given? So were those 6 passengers, were they sort of divided between the 10:34 and the 11:35 bus, or they were?
Yes.
Was any thought given to maybe an express that went from San Francisco nonstop to Santa Rosa, whether the Transit Mall or Piner Road or anything?
For 3 people, from a policy perspective, running a 40-foot bus from San Francisco to Santa Rosa for 3 people is arguably not the best or most efficient way to do that. Some sort of smaller vehicle might be more appropriate. Historically, Marin and Sonoma counties have had programs like for the last mile. Marin County used to have a subsidized Uber program that stopped a couple years ago. We are in conversations with both counties because it's such a small number of people. Is there something they could do to fund something? And for the record, both Marin and Sonoma counties have a local sales tax, as Ron said, that voters pass for transportation. And we received this amount, 0, for our regional bus and ferry service. Additionally, in Sonoma County, they rejiggered how they allocate the state funding that goes to transit operators. And so we're receiving $5.2 million less from Sonoma County. So if there's a need to get a handful of people from Novato to Santa Rosa late at night, we are looking to our regional partners who have resources, one of whom took resources from us to perhaps fill that void. We have a lot of demands on our tolls, and we think it's better to redirect those resources to, where the customers are. Right. And we cannot afford to run those late night buses and do all that 101 service that Ron talked about every 15 minutes during the commute period from San Rafael South.
So one last comment. Was there any discussion on the SMART side about possibly running a later train?
Yes. Yes. And given the low numbers that we just discussed, they felt that it wasn't cost effective for them to have another train running after the 10:15.
Plus, there's a practical reality. They have to do maintenance work on the track. So they are running later and starting earlier under the mascot's proposal. They're running a lot more midday service. So they'll be increasing the amount of service on weekdays, I believe, about 26% and over 40%, approaching 50% on weekends. So they'll be adding a lot more service, but they still need some time to do basic maintenance work on the track and all the signal and electrical equipment out there.
So since we've been running our service for quite a while now, we have a pretty good idea of how many people are riding it. They're relatively new and haven't been running that late at night. They might pick up more passengers. Just a thought.
Yeah. They're hopeful of that.
Well, they ran late at night, route. So those are my comments.
Thank you, Jim. Let's take
Yes, thank you, Ron, for your report. Dealing with those 6 riders again is very similar to what Jim said. Do you know what their occupations were in San Francisco?
No, we do not.
Is there any way of finding out? I mean,
It appears that the variability implies that some of them may not be workers. There may be people that have been staying out late, but we don't know that. We haven't surveyed them. There's 7 million people in the Bay Area. There's, 800,000 in San Francisco. Then between Marin and Sonoma, another 750,000. So that's, 1.5 million people in our service area, and we have finite resources. And so the question is, for this board, from a policy perspective, one is, should there be a late night bus that takes people from Novato to Santa Rosa? And then more germane for us is that an appropriate use of the limited toll dollars that you have, or should Sonoma and Marin counties provide some sort of transportation to address that very small number of people? Because from a policy perspective, it's arguably not a prudent use of your limited toll dollars when you have, large needs on the bridge. Redirecting those bus hours to where the customers are, gets cars off the bridge when we have congestion. I mean, some of you drove here this morning, and you probably wish that more people were riding buses. And if we had more frequent one-on-one service every 15 minutes, your commute driving here this morning might have gone a little bit smoother because there's more options for people, more frequent service for people to take the bus. And so the intent is to, focus the resources where we have the most opportunity to grow ridership, which is something we want to do, but also to get cars off, the bridge and Highway 101 in the North Bay, particularly when it's most crowded and most congested, because that provides the most benefit.
Well, to finish up with that, we know who these people are. Would it be possible to find out what kind of occupation they're in?
Some of them did not appear to be employed.
Okay. So, there were 2 that doubled up.
Twice a week. So two times over the course of a week.
And the other 4 are, or were there more than 6 total?
There's 6 total that go north. So, if the question is do we know these people? No, we don't. Do we know what their trip was? No, we don't. We carry thousands of people every day on our buses and ferries. We do surveys periodic at a high level about income, demographics, household size, ethnicity, things like that. But we don't have a deep dive on this handful of people. And if the board were to approve this, we have between now and April, which is when the mascots would be implemented, to work with our partner agencies at the Transportation Authority of Marin and the Sonoma County Transportation Authority to see what other programs they may have in place to assist these people with all the transportation dollars that they control.
All right. Well, thank you, Ron.
Sabrina?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, everyone, and thank you, Ron, for your report. I have a couple of questions. So first, let me just hit on this one. You said that there were 21 surveys or 21 comments submitted in Spanish.
That's correct.
Was there any commonality in terms of the feedback that came in through those 21 surveys?
Pretty much that the existing service plan under mascots would meet their needs.
Okay, thank you. Also, I share some of the concerns that I'm hearing from my colleagues with regard to workers. And I understand, Dennis, very clearly your expression of concern with regard to fiscal responsibility and our finite financial capabilities. But I'll say this is a very dynamic time. And I see it every day when I look at the out of work list at the local union hall. Electricians are starting to go out to work in higher numbers. There's an upward trend of activity with regard to construction work, and that means that there are more people coming back to open restaurants and work late night hours, and the city is also increasing its numbers of late night activities during which workers are required to participate and support. So there is no crystal ball. I realize this is a very, very complicated process and that nothing is perfect. I do want to echo the concerns of my colleagues and also express my personal concern over the availability of transit, late night transit for all of those folks who may be coming into the city, not just now and not just exclusive to these 6 workers, but to the many more that have a potential to come. And, identifying these 6 workers, there are so many other workers that have given up on former modes of transit that were available pre-pandemic, et cetera, that are now having to try to figure out new ways, or maybe they went back into a car, and that's, as all of us said, that doesn't, that's not necessarily, that doesn't take people off the road. So yeah, I have some concerns. I'd like you to, one more question. Let's see, I have several points here. So one solution might be the replacement service with some other kind of a transit. You said something about an Uber pool or a van pool. You said that people are looking into maybe a different, smaller mode, but you didn't go into detail as to what specifics were being considered, who was considering that, and how it would meet the needs of the late night folks.
Director Hernandez, yes, there's a concept called last mile transit, which is non-transit means to get somebody that last mile. In this case, it would be actually getting somebody the last 20 or 25 miles back to Santa Rosa. But there have been programs by our partner agencies for shared Uber or Lyft trips, kind of on-demand vans that had been demonstrated at different smart stations in Marin to take people that last distance. We're only suggesting that there are other means out there that could be applied for this late night market, which is very small, albeit, and would probably be more cost effective than what we're doing today with having a 40-foot bus go that whole distance with only a couple people on it.
So the suggestion is that for folks who need that late night connection, that they should just call an Uber?
No.
Okay.
No. It would be a formal program. An Uber would actually be quite expensive, and being concerned about the income level of those individuals, it would be a subsidized Uber.
I see. Sponsored by whatever agencies would be.
Yes,
okay.
Of course. With a subsidy or a voucher or something that would go along with it.
Okay. All right. And I have some other questions that maybe I should speak to you offline, but they generally have to do with, concerns around making sure that the public is aware of potential changes way in advance, and that the public is surveyed in advance. And I know that, you can't keep up to the very minute on things. Like I said, things are very dynamic, and I'm seeing it at the Union Hall. I'm seeing it all through South San Francisco. In fact, 25% of our workers live in Marin County and Northwood. So it's a big concern for my organization, I think a lot of construction workers, and workers in general. So workers are going back. Folks are going to their offices. Leases are being generated today in greater numbers than we've seen since before the pandemic. There's a lot of turnover and and of course a lot of the related activities. So I guess I would just urge you and ask you to hear my concerns and the concerns of others here.
Absolutely.
On doing your very best, and I know that you do, and I realize that it's a tough thing to hit on the head. But
so if approved by the board tomorrow, this plan would go into effect in April of 2026. We are already developing outreach strategies that would go out there on the street beginning in January, February in advance of the change. Some of you may recall back in the early 2000s, we did a major restructuring of our transit service, and we had to eliminate routes. Marin County picked up some other segments of those routes that were discontinued, and we had an education process that was able to be translated between languages without having a lot of words. And so that we had pictograms that said, if you took this bus, you would now take that bus instead. If the bus you rode before was a standard bus, well, this route is now going to have an articulated bus. And so taking people through the steps of the before and after of the proposed change. As I said in the report, some of the segments that we would be eliminating as Golden Gate Transit Service, some people will have to take Marin Transit instead of our bus, but it's going to go the same places. And if they are continuing on to San Francisco, we would have a time transfer very similar to what we have at the San Rafael Transit Center, which has worked very, very well for decades, where the buses all come in about 5 or 6 minutes before what we call a pulse. Passengers transfer, and then they depart. We would have that same kind of mechanism in Southern Marin at the junction points. So we're going to really make sure that non-English speaking people understand what the changes are. A lot of it is really comprehending. Last time we did this exercise in the early 2000s, we had a lot of people who were non-English speaking that only saw that their bus was going away. They did not understand that they would have a replacement, but it would be slightly different. So we're really going to dig down into that to make sure the comprehension is there. The mascots plan, as it's detailed in the staff report, is slated to be a 3-year program that would be evaluated at 2 years. But I want to make one clarification there. The staff will be watching this as soon as it launches in April, if approved. And while we have scheduled sign-up changes that we have to adhere to make major changes if something is really not working, we'll be making sure that things are functioning the way that they're supposed to from day one of this proposal.
So when you say you're going to be looking at making sure things function as they're supposed to, that indicates to me that there is some flexibility in making moderate changes while the program is engaged.
That's correct.
Okay. Can I suggest that we maybe look at the program? You said 2 years is going to be a major evaluation.
Yes.
Can we consider maybe taking a 6-month or a year period to review instead of waiting for 2 years? Things are so dynamic; they're really, really changing.
Absolutely.
And I'm very concerned, certainly with as expressed the late night folks, but in general, I mean, this is a pretty substantial change. And although you've gotten some pretty, 63% favorability in terms of the surveys, et cetera, that's still not 75, 80%. And they're going to be, 36, 40% of folks that might be, detrimentally affected. So I feel like maybe we need to do some evaluating more consistently early on if in fact this goes through.
Most definitely.
Agreed. MTC is going to do the 2-year look at the whole thing, but our staff looks at our system all the time. We add routes. We add trips as people come back. A month ago, we added another Mill Valley commute trip. We added a couple 132 trips that come down 4th Street in San Rafael. So we continue to add back service incrementally as we see a return of commuters, in particular, because we're excited about downtown reopening. We still own all our buses. We still own all our bus yards. We're not closing any bus yards. And so the bus business is scalable. And so we look forward to the, Phoenix rising again in San Francisco. But this is more of a structural change to recognize that there is now a smart train in the quarter and how people travel. And it's also an opportunity to look at the finite toll dollars we have. The one group we did not poll was our toll payers to say, do you like your toll? Do you think it's too high or too low? We're assuming that they're okay with our current structure and the amount of the toll with this. And if you choose to add things, you want to think about how the toll payers will react if, midway through this 5-year toll plan, if we have to go back and raise it even higher.
All right. Well, I feel more confident with the understanding that we are that we have the capacity to be quick on our feet, that we're going to be reviewing everything very, very closely on a more frequent basis, and that we're going to be providing information to the public way in advance of any further changes. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Sabrina. We've got 2 more people. Yes.
Yeah. No, I appreciate Director Hernandez's comments. And I had a couple questions. And so maybe I'm hearing this wrong, but as a Santa Rosa resident in Sonoma County, any kind of service cuts to that is concerning to me for sure. And I know this is one of the most underserved communities, and I mean most folks can't afford a car in this group. And from what I'm hearing and understanding, maybe it's wrong. Is it basically late night services? 10:30, 11:30, the routes that we're cutting. Currently, with Smart only going to 10:30, and Marin and Sonoma have not picked up those routes yet, so we will have a hole in the service.
To clarify, they still run to Nevada. And then most of the people that ride those 2 101 trips get off in Marin, the vast majority. So
is there anything from Nevada?
The proposal does not have anything. Today we have 101s that go all the way to Santa Rosa that leave San Francisco at 10:30 and 11:30. And the proposal is that all 101 service would truncate at Novato. And we acknowledge that we would be leaving a few people behind. And it's good that we're talking about that because transportation is all about you personally. And so for those people, it's a significant change, and we recognize that.
Was this part of the strategy then, like we're going to pull service back to try to put pressure on other transit agencies?
No, what the proposal was developed with all the agencies together. And I think, to quote Director Stephanie Mullen-Peters, who sent a letter to all of you that's in front of you, the goal of Mascots was to reduce duplication, improve connections, and match service demand, supporting ridership growth. And so inefficient routes that don't carry a lot of people, those resources, it's proposed, would be redirected. And so the proposal is that since most people commuting across the bridge are in Marin County, that we would focus more resources there. And, so the issue is these 2 late night trips, because today people traveling between Marin and Sonoma have voted with their feet. They're taking the train. And so this acknowledges that. And we are working with our partner agencies because it's, we're the most expensive bus operator in the Bay Area for an hour bus service. And we get criticized for that a lot. And part of the reason why we're so expensive is because, as Ron said, if you have a bus late at night with a couple of people on it, it's not very productive. And if we could take that resource and use it differently to carry more people, that's beneficial. But we're working with our partner agencies. They have had similar programs like Uber subsidies and other things in the past. And so we're talking to them about how they can do that. They do have money. If we were to keep these 2 late night trips, then we wouldn't be able to do 15-minute service on the 101 from Santa Fe South during the commute period, unless you want to increase your investment in buses. And with respect to that, just one important fact that always surprises people. The majority of the people taking transit from the North Bay to San Francisco are on our ferries. The number on the buses is quite small compared to the number on the ferries. And the other fact to be aware of is the toll subsidy for the bus is much higher. We spend more toll dollars on a bus service than we do on the ferry service. Before the pandemic, the average toll subsidy for a bus customer was 2.5 times higher than the average toll subsidy for a ferry customer. So if you want to get cars off the bridge, it's important to recognize that, assuming you have limits on how much you want to raise tolls, that you want to focus it in a way that covers buses and ferries in a way that is efficient, that moves people in the corridor. And if you want to do something late night, if others pay for it, that's great. If you're looking for toll payers to pay for that bus 40 feet long going 30 miles from Novato to Santa Rosa, know that you're not going to run that bus hour someplace else. Because as Ron said, the Mascots proposal has about the same number of revenue hours as we have today. We try to keep a balance. We weren't trying to do a haircut, but we wanted to put it where we thought it was more productive. And it's a policy call for this board if you think running that 40-foot bus makes sense.
Did we look at an option of, we were talking about eliminating 2 routes. Did you guys doing kind of splitting the proverbial baby and having something in between one route?
We did not look at that. The intent was that Golden Gate would do just commute service out of Sonoma County, recognizing the market. We would not do the regional service out of Sonoma County because SMART covers that. And so we did not look at an option because we feel that a 40-foot, the consultant team and all our sister agencies feel a 40-foot bus for a handful of people going 30 miles doesn't make sense in general. You don't, and then secondarily, the question is that a good use of your toll dollars? And those are your questions to answer. That's not a staff question to answer. We just make a recommendation. Our recommendation is what we think makes sense, and that's what's embodied in the staff report. And you're free to do something different if that's what you desire.
Finished?
Yeah.
Okay.
No question.
Director Parrish.
Thank you so much. Appreciate the presentation. There's clearly been a lot of work that has been done to kind of address the fiscal responsibility. I just want to echo some of the concerns that Director Hernandez and Snyder raised. I was a young grad student 25 years ago taking that bus from Santa Rosa to San Francisco. I went to San Francisco State. I didn't take it all the time because my car was really unreliable. So if I could, I'd make it across. And if I couldn't, I had to take the bus. So I just want to acknowledge that, not everyone's using it to commute every time. I also work with a lot of workers who are low-wage workers. They are moving out of San Francisco more drastically than we've ever seen before. Most of UFCW members who work in grocery stores commute over an hour. And I think as pressure on relying on auto transportation, including car insurance, which a lot of our members really struggle to have any car insurance, that I just want to agree with Director Hernandez that like this is a fluid situation, that people who formerly could drive maybe to work into San Francisco to keep their seniority and their years of service may no longer be able to. And again, we're talking about people who work during the day, sure, but a lot of people who rely on, the restocking, they work the other 9 to 5, so 9 p.m. to 5 a.m. I also just want to flag concern. I'm new to this board, but I think I have had a consistent concern around outsourcing of public transportation to Lyft and Uber. I do not think that is something that I support personally and would be opposed to. I know that there has been some outsourcing during COVID around paratransit, and I just want to raise a concern about that. So I think that's it, but thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Director. Do we have, Andrea?
Thank you, and I apologize for being late. I'd love a bus from Napa while you're doing things around it. Doesn't have to be late. It could be an early one. I could get up. There have been a number of mascot discussions, both at SMART and here and kind of out in the community. What I'm struck by is the concerns, of course, and the people that will be left. I'm also struck by how willing all of the groups that I've listened to, including SMART, and I'll speak for them, are willing to sit at the table and try to find a solution. The solutions may not look like what they look like now because, like you said, Sabrina, we're in a dynamic time. But there are so many solutions out there. I mean, look at all of the solutions that SMART has come up with. We have senior discounts. We have buses that are a funny color that take you from one place to another if you can't get there, that are on demand. We have ambassadors that are willing to help you get whatever you want. I think that there are a number of solutions that I trust, and I may take it all back, in a year. I'll take my trust back, but I don't think so. I've worked with all of you long enough that I trust that you've heard what we have to say and that as a group, and you'll come up with some kind of a solution. And I know that I've worked with Stephanie Walton Peters long enough to know that that's where she comes from too. So I think the comments are important. But I also think it's important that we give it a little time, maybe 6 months, maybe a year, and see what we can come up with that's creative.
Thank you, Barbara. I'll just make a comment. Someday I'm sorry. I didn't see you.
Okay. Yeah, thank you, Ron. Thanks for the update and report. A lot of work has gone into this, and it really makes sense from a high level to be doing this. I think it's when you get into the weeds that you start finding issues that are sometimes hard to accept. But I appreciate your comments on the intercounty paratransit and that commitment to that. And it's my understanding that just in the last couple of days, funding agreement was signed with Marin Transit that kind of reinforces this commitment.
Yes.
I think that's important to say to the public. I want to get into the weeds, but I want to look at the math because when I use public transit, I usually don't take the first ride unless there's a second ride. So that's 2 trips that I would avoid if I didn't have the second ride. So if you take your 6 number, that's really maybe 12 if my analysis is right, because I'm not taking the early trip either, so I'm not getting the trip home. And that's 360 rides a month. So depending how you look at the math, there could be more impacts. And I appreciate your comments about this is fluid, keeping an eye on it, making sure we watch it. But I also think we should be committed and be willing to commit maybe even some dollars to connect that last ride in the Sonoma in some way and participate in that. I think our partners will step up, hopefully, and Sonoma Transit will step up. But I also think leaving riders at somewhere that they don't want to finish, they're not finished the ride, just doesn't feel good to me from a public transportation perspective. So any way we can participate in that solution, I agree, running 40-foot buses empty doesn't make sense. But I also think that maybe we need to be more creative in shifting to a shuttle at some point to make that final connection might be a solution, and maybe a partnership in doing that. So, thank you.
Thank you, Dennis, and I apologize for missing you.
No, I would laugh. So.
Is there anyone else? No? Okay. Oh,
So just to follow up on thank you, Mr. Chair, on Director Rodoni's comment, what is the process to engage discussion and on establishing a shuttle of some sort?
We've already initiated conversations
Okay.
with SCCTA and TAM.
Okay.
They're thinking about it. It hasn't yielded anything as today, but we've had those conversations.
Okay. Well, hopefully you can take back, the feedback that you're hearing today that it's, it seems like a pretty common opinion here that we really want to find some way to take care of those riders that, as Director Rodoni pointed out, that could be a significant number of hours on a monthly basis. And sure, 40-foot bus, they don't need it, but there's got to be, some way to take care of folks and not just leave them in the lurch. Thank you.
Yeah, and Director Abbott and I are reinforcing that at SCTC.
Yeah, we're fortunate that we had some board members in common with SCTA and TAM. So Supervisor Rodoni, Supervisor Wilton Peters are on TAM, and Director Judith J. and Supervisor Abbott are also on SCTA.
I said, what would the process? I mean, if we wanted to retain at least one late night, is there what would the process be to? I mean, if we vote on this today to approve
after you hear from the public, a board member could introduce a motion, a colleague could propose an amendment, and you have a process where you choose to amend the motion. Staff would caution you that if you keep a late night trip, you got to cut something else unless you want to put more pressure on tolls. And so, our recommendation is that you don't just add, not unless you want me to come back to you at a future date, a couple of years from now, and put before you a much tougher decision about the size of our staff and our ability to afford everyone we have. For the record, we have a $24 million shortfall this fiscal year in the budget that you adopted. So if you want to add something, I would hope the amendment would ask staff to remove something of comparable number of hours of service. And so if you want to add late night service, the thing that we would probably reduce is the frequency of the 101 from San Rafael South, which is proposed to be 15 minutes during the peak. We could make that half hour during the peak, half hour all day without that extra boost. But that would be the trade-off. Unless you want to make that $24 million shortfall even bigger, staff strongly recommends that against that because we don't want to come back to you in a year or two saying we need layoffs.
Yeah, and one of the other flaws with the Mascot study was the lack of recognition of our ferries.
Mm-hmm.
And that really resulted in us taking a bigger haircut, the $5.2 million than we should have. So perhaps directing staff or engaging with our partners to recognize when the next coordinated claim is filed in, 2 years, that, we recognize that the ferries are regional transportation as well.
What is the cost of a route to run?
I don't know off the top of my head. No, we're approaching a little under $500 an hour.
Yes.
For an hour bus service.
Yes.
We are by far the most expensive in the Bay Area. And running long distances makes you expensive. Running really late or really early makes you expensive. There's lots of things that contribute to that. So you're talking about having to, if you think about it, that's 30 miles up there for 2 trips to 60 miles. Then you would look at from San Rafael South for 60 miles to balance it. So you would probably gut your 15-minute headway during the peak and just have 30-minute service all day on the 101 without that extra boost during the peak period with 15-minute service. Because the easier way to think of it is mileage. You would, you have 60 miles and that's a lot of trips from San Rafael South.
thank you. One of these days, maybe Waymo or Zeus would take care of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not for me.
Okay.
If I may, Bert, just one further follow-up comment.
Sure does.
I think SMART could be in the discussion about this solution too, because you have a shuttle that probably doesn't run it.
I think they are.
Yeah.
Yeah, agreed.
We don't care that they're funny color.
I call them plenty color.
They're international orange, more or less.
Yes, they are almost breach color.
Yeah, SMART is something really neat.
And I just have to say, it is a funny feeling this is just me having been on SMART for a long time. We've always been it felt like we've been kind of the stepchild. We're the last transportation agency in the area. And all of a sudden we're the backbone of mascots and we're going, oh, I hope we're doing the right thing here. But not really, but definitely we're in the conversation because it's our fixed route trains that sort of dictate whatever else happens. Mm-hmm. So for us not to be in the conversation is just not okay. And we talk about it often.
Thank you. Anything else? Again, that concludes our discussion on item number 4. Before we take our vote, is there anyone from the public wishing to speak on this item?
We have 2 speakers in the room, and then we probably have a speaker or 2 on the phone line, Justine's phone line. The first person I am going to introduce is Nicole Folan. Nicole Folan. Great. Hold on 1 second. Thomas is going to help you out. Would you like the microphone instead? It is a portable. Yes, absolutely.
Kind of overwhelmed because there's a lot of stuff. I was living in San Francisco and I moved to Marin, and it was a big change. But I really got into Golden Gate. And then they were going to change it to Marin, and so I was really trying to stay with the Golden Gate. So it didn't happen. So the Marin Transit. I used to go see shows in Fairfax. I live right by the transit center. I would see music, and the last bus was 2:20 or 2:10 in the morning. Now it's 10 o'clock from Fairfax to San Rafael. But now it's also because it's the little the shuttles, the West Coach. They're not very accessible. They don't want to do it. I got stuck I couldn't get home. So I had to my friend had to come pick me up. I tried to go to West Marin, to the west, and sometimes it doesn't work. So I stopped going to Fairfax, which is just 3 miles. I'd rather get on the 101 and go see music in the city. And it used to be 1 o'clock in the morning. Now it's 11:30. So everything is really downsized, but at least I can have see a little excitement in my life. But now I go to College Marin, and I just going to College Marin. I took a night class, and after the class, we all were waiting for the bus. I think I'm counting. There was 14 people waiting, but the next 2 weeks, it was 2 people, me and another person. Everyone had to get a different ride because we had to wait for 35 minutes at night in the winter. So, it's not very the same pattern. Also, I'm taking another class during the day, and it's for College Marin has those shuttles, and it's jammed. I can't get locked down. There's too many people, and you're paying a fee to get this great service to have shuttles, but we should just have the regular bus instead of just this little crammed shuttle. And also those for getting out of the ramp, it's very short, and also it leans down, so it's pretty scary. So I don't know why if they're doing a fee or if you pay a class and you pay a fee, why don't we just be in a regular bus instead of the shuttle? Because it was getting packed. So I was thinking.
Thank you. We'll share your comments with Marin Transit. With respect to the 101 service, under Mascots from San Rafael, there'd be no change for going into the city. It'll be the same schedule we have today. But for your other comments, we'll definitely reach out to Marin Transit and share your concerns with them.
Thanks for taking the time to come here today.
Finished?
And hang on one second. The next person we have is Shane Weinstein. Shane, good morning.
Hi, Shane.
Morning, Chair. Again, good morning, Chair, committee members. My name is Shane Weinstein. I serve as the president of Amalgamated Transit Union Local 1575. I represent all the bus operators of Golden Gate Transit. I'm here today because I remain deeply concerned about what will happen to the late night riders once Mascots takes effect, specifically the loss of the northbound 101 service from San Francisco to Sonoma County. It's been confirmed by General Manager Dennis Mulligan that the 12:30 a.m. 101 will remain in service, and that's important. But the trip has always ended in San Rafael. It doesn't get riders home to Petaluma, Cotati, Rohnert Park, or Santa Rosa. The 10:30 p.m. and 11:30 p.m. Route 101 trips will have always gone to Santa Rosa and will now terminate in Novato. This means after 10 p.m. on weekdays and most likely earlier on the weekends, there will be no public transit from Marin County to Sonoma County. This isn't about convenience. It's about access, equity, and basic mobility. We're talking about restaurant staff, healthcare workers, and hospitality employees, people whose shift ends after the last SMART train has gone home, and some people who just want to go see a show. For them, this isn't a convenience, it's a dead end. I want to make something absolutely clear here. I am not trying to get in the way of Mascots. I support the broader goals of regional integration and efficiency. But there's nothing efficient about stranding people who have no way to get home. If it's a cost issue, if running both at 10:30 and 11:30 is too expensive, then I'm proposing a reasonable compromise. Combine them and keep one late night sweeper trip that ensures that nobody is left behind after SMART stops running. That's not radical, that's responsible. I also want to address something that's been said by the general manager, who reportedly told board members that I'm being misleading in my letter that I sent out on Monday to everybody, that said thousands of people would be left behind. The district's own staff report, as we've been talking about, shows that on average six riders use the late night trips each night. That's 6 people per night, 365 days a year. That's 2,190 people annually who lose their only ride home. If that's to disappear. So yes, as I said in my letter, thousands of people will lose their only ride home. I also want to acknowledge some good news, I hope, and I don't know if the district's funding this, but they've agreed to continue funding operating paratransit service in Sonoma County. That's a significant step in the right direction, and I want to thank staff and the board for recognizing how vital that service is. But while that's progress, the job isn't finished. We still need to make sure that fixed route service continues to connect those riders to communities at night. Public transit is not for profit. It's for the public good. We can't talk about inclusion, climate, and workforce equity during the day, then shut the door on the very people who depend on us at night. So I'm asking this committee to stand up for those riders, to urge the district to keep that 10:30 and 11:30 trip, but at the very least, keep one late night 101 trip to Santa Rosa and continue protecting paratransit funding in Sonoma County. Let's make sure that no one, absolutely nobody, is left behind. Thank you.
Thank you, Shane.
Thank you. We have no other speakers in the room, I believe, unless there's somebody else that would like to speak. We missed. Okay, now we're going to move on to the line, the phone line. Justine. Justine, are you there?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. We have one speaker that I'm aware of. David Pilpel will speak, and then I would like to poll the room if possible. I believe some other people have joined. David, please go ahead and unmute yourself and speak.
Great. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Great. Thanks for taking the time on this important matter today. My comments today seemed longer than 3 minutes, so I crafted them into a letter this morning. I hope that copies are available for the board and the public in the room. This is nearly a 10% cut in total bus hours and would make it harder to get around on transit in the North Bay. It's not just a late night issue. It's all day, weekdays and weekends. Please see my comments 6, 8, 10, and 12 in particular, and you may wish to follow up with more questions to staff on those points. I'm holding a copy of Golden Gate Transit timetables from 1973 and 1974 right now, showing the initial post-Greyhound bus service schedules. This change would abandon over 50 years of all-day Golden Gate bus service north of Novato. This proposal would discourage or prevent certain people, including myself, from taking transit in the North Bay on certain trips. Thanks again for taking the time on this matter, and I hope you have a chance to read my letter. Thanks.
Thank you, David.
I would like to poll the room if you don't mind.
Okay.
Is there anyone else who's joined us that would like to speak this morning? Please use ** to unmute yourself and give me your name. Again, if you have public comment this morning, you'll need to press ** on your device and then give me your name. I am not hearing anybody else at this time.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. May I have may I have a motion on agenda item number 4?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to propose an amendment, please. I'd like to, given the amount of, yes.
There needs to be a motion for you.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're looking for a motion?
Will someone move the item?
Yeah, will someone move the item?
I will.
Second.
It's a committee to hold, so everyone's involved.
Okay, so we have.
That's why. All right.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Please do roll call.
No. Now we have.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
There we go.
May I be recognized by the chair?
All right.
May I be recognized by the chair?
Okay.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, I'd like to propose an amendment to the motion.
Okay.
I'd like to propose an amendment, given the amount of discussion and sincere concern it seems around the board, that we carve out for more discussion and a more defined solution the item with regard to the late night changes. Thank you.
Second.
It's been moved and second.
So
Now there's a vote on the amendment.
well, first there's a discussion on the amendment. Of course, there's a vote. Yes. And to clarify for the record, the amendment is to carve out so that you would approve all of mascots except for the elimination of those 2 trips to be brought back at a future date.
Yes, that's what I was thinking. I'd like to have more discussion and a solution exclusively on the late night service, since it's such a concern around the board table here and from the public. But pass the rest of the motion.
So ultimately, you could decide to not act today and to direct staff to come back next month with more detail on late night options. I'm just giving you options because that I think is being responsive to what your concern is.
I guess part of my concern is that we've stated, and I've heard, well, we're talking about that, or so-and-so's talking about that, but I'd like to see a concrete plan, whether it is, something that can propose to the board, where we can take one of those funny color buses from SMART and say, yes, that's available. We've had these discussions and this is available. We might have to kick in this many dollars, but it's going to be a lot less because maybe SMART will, SMART's giving us their bus. It's not going to be as costly. It's not a 40-foot bus. I'd like to have something more concrete to evaluate.
So it sounds like maybe what's best is that we not act on this item and we bring it back next month.
Especially if the whole is messed up by
parceling it? Yeah. So if we parcel it, then it creates a problem in terms of pressure on tolls and additional expenses. So I would suggest that in light of your interest that we not act on this item today and that we come back next month with some information that's more concrete, to use Director Hernandez's term, with respect to what might be viable options for that late night service, so you're not able to make a decision on the whole package without an understanding of is it real or not, I think is the concern.
I'm happy with that. Thank you for that suggestion.
So
taking back the amendment and then take back the motion.
Take back the motion.
Okay. And it's already very able to.
Correct. We have to
vote it down.
Okay. I rescind my amendment. Thank you. Okay. Noting that there will be.
I rescind my second motion. And you rescind your second.
You have a second.
And so there's no motion before you if you withdraw it. And so staff's understanding is that The board wants us to come back with much more detail on those 2 late night trips, on other options that are more concrete before you're asked to vote on the whole package. Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you.
May I ask the one bus option for you? At least something like that.
So what we're hearing is that
Definitely.
you want us to explore all available options with all of our partners, including a one bus sweeper, I think was the term used. Another option would be to have the smart orange shuttle. Another option is Petaluma Transit. But you want to see what options are with more specificity so that you feel comfortable that the needs of those riders that are late night are addressed.
That probably covers my concern, Ross. Thank you.
And just to tag on to that, it could just be something from Novato to Santa Rosa.
Yeah.
Understood. Yeah. So something that gets people from Novato to Santa Rosa late at night, whether it's a sweeper or something. Thank you for the clear direction.
Thanks for speaking.
Yeah. No, so we're done with that agenda item.
Everybody is okay with pulling back on.
There's nothing on the table.
There's no motion on the table.
Now, okay.
So we got to again next month.
There's no motion on the table. Just want to make clear.
So there's no motion on the table. Staff has been given direction. We'll come back next month.
Okay.
So we can go on to the next agenda item.
All right. Let's move on to agenda number 5.
Yes. 5. All right. Thank you. We're going to move on to agenda item number 5. And that's to approve updates to the agency safety plan for Golden Gate Transit. And the staff report begins on page 47. And Paul McClellan, thank you for being patient and waiting for your item to come up. He's here to present the report. Thank you.
Good morning. Good morning, Terry Hill and committee members. My name is Paul McClellan. I'm the Director of Fleet and Facilities in the Bus Division. I also serve as the Safety Management System Executive in the Bus Division. I'm here this morning to present item number 5 on the agenda to approve updates to the agency safety plan for transit. I'd like to start by providing a high-level overview of the agency safety plan, or the ASP. The board adopted the ASP in October of 2020 in response to the Federal Transit Administration's Public Transportation Agency Plan, or PTASK rule. The ASP is structured around the concept of safety management system, or SMS. SMS is a comprehensive collaborative approach to managing safety in the workplace. The major goal is to bring everyone together in all levels of the organization to control safety risks, detect and correct safety problems, share and analyze safety data, and measure safety performance. The 4 components of SMS are 1, safety management policy, 2, safety risk management, 3, safety insurance, and 4, safety promotion. Per FTA rule, Golden Gate Transit is required to annually review the ASP, and if changes are made, the staff will need to ask the board to approve the changes. There were no regulatory changes required from FTA this year, so there are relatively minor changes to the ASP in comparison to last year. This year's updates include the following changes. In Section 2 of the ASP, updates have been made in the following areas. Under Golden Gate Transit bus system description, updates were made to reflect the most current information. Adjusted fixed routes from 9 to 11 with the addition of the 172X and the 580X. Adjusted the number of passengers carried from 2.9 million in FY24 to 3.1 million in FY25. Under intergovernmental agreements, Marin Transit local fixed routes changed from 5 to 4. BART Early Bird Express route contract information was updated to reflect the 3-year extension approved in February 25 with 3 one-year extension options. Under maintenance facilities, the language was updated for the maintenance facilities to provide a better description of the maintenance operations. The total number of buses Golden Gate Transit maintains went from 170 to 167, with Marin Transit removing 3 of the Gillies we once operated under contract. Under Golden Gate Transit committees, Bus Safety Management System Committee was added. This is not a new committee, however, it was not previously listed. In section 2.4.1, hazard controls under minimizing exposures to infectious diseases, practices that were used during the pandemic have been removed since the CDC does not currently have any recommendations for large-scale outbreaks. In section 3.2.2, investigation procedures, this section has been updated to represent the latest investigation procedures regarding accidents and assaults. The following changes have been made to appendices. Appendix C, Golden Gate Transit Revenue Vehicle Fleet. The contingency fleet was removed from the revenue vehicle fleet and a separate section was added for the contingency fleet. Appendix D, Golden Gate Transit Bus Routes and Park and Ride Lots. Updates were made to reflect changes in parking capacity. Manzanita had a reduction from 181 to 141. Downtown San Rafael saw an increase from 42 to 49. And Petaluma Boulevard South also saw an increase from 36 to 43. Appendix E, Golden Gate Transit Service Maps, the latest version of the service maps were inserted for planning. And finally, Appendix H, Safety Responsibility Matrix. Safety responsibility by position title has been updated under the general manager to add the following. 1, implementation of SMS. 2, safety performance. 3, implementation of safety risk reduction program. 4, considerations of safety risk mitigations recommended by the safety committee. While these tasks are generally carried out by others in the agency, the accountable executive is ultimately responsible for them. There's no financial impact at this time. And in closing, the staff is respectfully requesting approval of the updates to the agency safety plan version 5.0, October of 2025 for Golden Gate Transit in compliance with the Federal Transit Administration VTASC rule. At this time, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have regarding the updates to the ASP.
Mr. Chair, if I may, I would like to thank Paul McClellan and Beverly Wong. I don't know if she's here today. She is. As well as all of our staff at the bus division and our partners at Amalgamated Transit Union Local 1575 and IAM for their assistance in getting to the structure so that with your action today we'll be in full compliance with all the FTA requirements with respect to the agency safety plan.
Thank you very much. Questions or comments for directors? That concludes discussion on item number 5. Before we take our vote, is there anyone from the public wishing to speak this item?
We do not have any speakers in the room, but I understand, Justine, you think you might have a speaker on your line. I'm going to turn it over to you to see if you do.
Thank you so much. I'll poll right now. Is there anyone that's joined us that would like to speak this morning? Please press ** to unmute yourself and let me know.
Yes, David Pilpel. Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you, David. Go ahead.
Great. Thank you. Sorry, I just found one minor issue on moment. Sorry, on it's not a numbered page. It would be the table on page 53, 54. The November 2024 revision in the revision table. It doesn't reference the board action, which I believe was resolution 2024-072 on November 15th, 2024. So I would just suggest adding that to the revision table. The rest of it seems pretty straightforward. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, David.
Yes, thank you, David.
Do you mind if I just ask if there's anybody else that's joined us? Is there anyone else that's joined us that would like to speak this morning? Please press star to unmute yourself and let me know. Okay, I'm not hearing anyone else. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Thank
I so apologize. I'm moving us backwards, and I don't mean to. But I just wanted to thank you for page 57, the acronyms. One in this group had asked for it, and that's a lot of acronyms and a lot of work. So I just wanted to acknowledge it. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
The little thing.
Okay. Any other comments? That concludes our discussion on item number 5. Before we take our vote, we already did that, sorry. Thank you. May I have a motion on agenda item number 5?
Motion.
Second.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Secretary. Please do a roll call.
Okay, we're doing a roll call vote. We're going to get everybody into the rhythm of roll call votes because there's been a legislation that's been passed in Sacramento that's going to change things to January 1st. So we're going to try and get everybody back into a roll call vote motion there. So, all right, starting with Director Devlin.
Aye.
Barbarino.
Aye.
Giudice.
Yes.
Hardiman is absent. Hernandez.
Aye.
Master.
Aye.
Moulton Peters is absent. Parr.
Aye.
Parrish. Aye. Redoni.
Aye.
Snyder.
Yes.
Beer is absent. Second Vice President Rabbit is absent. First Vice President Hill.
Yes.
And President Cochran.
Yes.
Thank you. Votes unanimous.
We will now move on to agenda item 6, which is a monthly report of the police traffic, transit ridership trends, and transit service performance. The staff report begins on page 217. Dennis, go ahead with your report.
My written report is before you. In the interest of time, I'm available to answer any questions that you might have.
Are there any questions? Okay. Seeing none. Thank you for your report. Let's see. Are there any? That concludes discussion on this item. Madam Secretary, is there anyone from the public?
We have no speakers for this item.
Thank you. So with that, no action is required for this informational report. We will move on to item number 7, for a monthly report on activities related to Marin Transit. Dennis, do you have anything to report on this item?
All is good with respect to Marin Transit. I'm available to answer any questions that you might have.
Seeing none. That concludes discussion on this item, and there is no action required for item number 7. Madam Secretary, is there anyone from the public wishing to speak on item 7 or address the committee under item 8, which is public comment?
We have no speakers for this item or for number 8 under public comment.
Okay. Thank you. We have reached the end of the agenda. May I have a motion to adjourn this meeting?
Okay.
Second.
Got it.
Second. Okay. Hearing no objections, this concludes the meeting of the Transportation Committee. Thank you, colleagues. The time is
10:27.
10:27.